Alright, so here we are. Part 4 of What If Female Deku Had a Harem. Now, like I said in the last part, I said that if it got to I believe I said if it got to 10 likes, I would add Todoroki to the Shoto to the harem. Well, you did that, and now Shoto's in the harem. Oh, and before we begin, as well, I wanted to point out this comment I got right here by Aether Simp, I believe that's how you say it. If I'm saying it wrong, then you can correct me. Who suggested that I do a Naruto what if. So, the question I'm going to ask you guys is, would you like me to branch out to other animes and do what ifs on them, or stick with My Hero Academia for the time being? You can put down Y for yes, or Y for yes if you want me to do other animes, and N for no if you don't want me to do other animes and stick to My Hero Academia for the time being. So, you guys get to decide on that, and now we will continue. Alright, so, hold on. I forgot where we left off, so give me a minute. Alright, so, we finished off in the last part with the end of the Heroes vs. Villains exam. So we'll pick up right when that left off, with All Might asking who was the MVP of the match. As Momo would point out, that Elijah was the MVP of that match due to her separating both opponents from each other, so that it would be a lot harder for them to complete their objective. With All Might responding with, sorry about that. That is correct. Villains will take any tactic and perform any tactic necessary if it means that they will achieve victory. So you'll need to be prepared for that eventuality. As everyone else's goes as it did in canon, with us then getting to the end of the day with Aoyama thanking her for helping him with Ida, with Elijah smiling as she'd say, "It was no problem. You are my teammate. If you're my teammate, and you would have done the same thing for me." With Elijah then getting her stuff packed up, as she would say goodbye to Aoyama, as she would then walk off back to her place. With her arriving home and being greeted by Kota and Mandalay, as she would be socializing with them for the rest of the night, as we'll then get to the USJ with everybody discussing their quirks, with them eventually getting to Elijah, with Elijah saying that her quirk is called Demon, and what that basically does is that it basically gives her basic demon abilities like control over fire, access control over shadows as well, and some basic level of reality manipulation. As they would ask, what about the fact that that thing that came out from your hand at Bakugo, that basically devoured Bakugo's explosion, with Elijah responding with, that's for me to know and for you to possibly find out. With Zawa then saying, "Shut up, we're here. Everybody get off the bus," as they would then get into the USJ, where they'd meet the the space hero number 13, with 13 then giving her speech about how quirks can be dangerous and they can possibly kill people. Give me a minute. Sorry about that. With Kirishima looking down at the courtyard, the fountain area, as a portal would open up, as Kirishima would say, "Wow, you guys even have some fake villains here." With Aizawa saying, "Those aren't fake villains, those are real villains." With him then putting his goggles on, as he would tell 13 to protect the children. With a lot with Aizawa jumping down to fight the villains, whilst Elijah would try to get everybody. While 13 would be protecting everyone, whilst Elijah would be trying to figure out a way to get out. With Kurogiri then showing up and announcing that they are the League of Villains, and we are here to kill All Might. As they would then drop, Kurogiri would then teleport everyone else to different areas of the USJ, with Elijah being sent to the fire area. I don't remember who was in the fire area, so if you do know who was in there, do let me know. As I'll say Aoyama would be with Sue in this timeline. Like right on the boat, not in a relationship with her, but in a boat. On the boat. With Elijah basically taking all the fire and basically absorbing it into her body. As a group of villains would show up and try to attack her, with her taking out the villains quite easily. And when one of the villains tried to grab her, they received about I'll say 2,000 volts. Because, I don't know how many volts a human body can take, so I'm saying 2,000 just to be safe. So, yeah, that villain is basically out for the count. Elijah would begin to move out from the fire zone, with we're then heading over to the mountainous area. Pardon me, sorry. To help Todoroki with his villains by basically freezing them in her temporal ice. With all the villains being frozen in time, as Elijah would then be done with helping Todoroki, as she would then move on to the water area to help Aoyama and Sue escape. With her landing on the boat by just teleporting there, with Sue and Aoyama being surprised by this, asking how did she do that, with Elijah saying, "I don't know, this is literally the first time I did it. I didn't even think this would work." With her then basically grabbing Sue and Aoyama and focusing as two large shadowy arms would come up from the side of her, as they would then slam into the water, which would cause the villains to be knocked out from the force. As she would use those shadowy arms to make it to the edge of the water area. With Sue, Aoyama, and Elijah seeing that Aizawa was being beaten down, as Shigaraki would notice them, as he would try to disintegrate Sue, with Elijah releasing some of the fire that she absorbed from the fire zone as it would hit Shigaraki, as Shigaraki would tell the Nomu to kill Elijah, as the Nomu would dash towards her, attempting to kill her, but it was stopped when Aoyama shot his naval laser at his hand, with Kirishima then coming in and punching the Nomu in the face. Now, due to shock absorption, this did nothing, as Kirishima would say, it's not manly to try to attack a woman like that. With the Shigaraki telling Nomu to deal with the kids, those two first, and I'll deal with the girl. As the Nomu was just about to kill Aoyama and Kirishima, as the door to the USG would bust down, with All Might announcing that he is here. It was the same angry expression they had in canon, as Ida had gone away and notified everyone at UA that villains were attacking the USG. Alright, so with All Might taking out the villains that were still standing, and moving moving Elijah, Kirishima, Aoyama, and Sue from the water area, as the Nomu would still be standing, because again, shock absorption. With All Might beginning to fight with the Nomu, but as the fight would go the same up until the very end. With All Might about to throw that final punch, Kurogiri opens up a portal where All Might's fist goes through it, as the punch would be displaced somewhere else, with Sonome landing back on the ground and punching All Might, as All Might would go flying, with Shigaraki laughing as he tells the Nomu to deal with All Might later, but right now kill them, as he points to Kirishima and Aoyama, with the Nomu basically blitzing Kirishima and Aoyama, sending them both into the staircase of the USJ. Now, at this point, Elijah has built up a good friendship with some of the people in Class 1A, and those being Kirishima, Aoyama, Ida, a little bit with Shoto, but since he's still quite cold and still the edgy guy that he is, he doesn't really talk to her much, so she's sort of like friends with Shoto, but not really. As seeing Kirishima and Aoyama injured, basically, hold on. Sorry about that, as I was saying, seeing Aoyama and Kirishima injured in that way, basically caused her to enter into a rage state. As the shadowy arms that helped Aoyama and Su escape from the water zone punched the Nomu and sent it flying. As from the arms a body would begin to form, and from that body would come a head. As it sort of looks on, as this shadowy body would look. Sorry about that. My dog is barking. As Elijah is currently sort of like floating in the middle of this torso, but there's no pupils and no iris, just the white sclera. And for those of you who don't know and didn't take biology, the sclera is like that white bit of the eye, like right there. And as I was saying, now let's continue. This creature, this being, it sort of looks like Elijah, but sort of like with a shadow, but it looks quite shadowy. As it would outstretch its arm and slam it right down into the Nomu. As in the hand would form a massive ball, which sort of is like which is made out of the fire from the fire zone. As Elijah's shadowy body would lift his hand up and slam it right down into the Nomu. Now, due to the force and heat from this, it causes I'm not sure if it's concrete or just pure rock in the ground area, but it begins to melt. It begins to melt as this would basically start burning and covering the Nomu as Elijah would lift it up, as the shadowy body would lift it up, as it would put down the other hand with ice, with ice basically going all over the area to cool it down. As that area, the Nomu is basically buried there. It can't get out. It's stuck. With that being done, the body basically dissipates like that, as Elijah would basically fall to her knees, unconscious, as Kirishima and Aoyama would run over to help her, with Shigaraki scratching his neck, as he'd state that they cheated, as he would run over and try to decay Elijah. But the event right there is where the events go back to normal, with Snipe basically lighting Shigaraki up like he did in canon, as Shigaraki and Kurogiri then escape. With Elijah having to be taken to a hospital due to her being unconscious, and Kirishima and Aoyama would have to go as well, due to them having a few broken bones from the force that they were punched at. And that is where I'm going to end this part off. And for those of you who made it to the end, I do have a Discord, so if you guys would like to join that, I will leave a link in the description below for you to join it after I've done uploading this and then editing it. So I will see you guys next time.